What's up, everyone? The boys are back in town for one special edition. Jason's lost his hair a little bit, but he has decided to come back for one podcast. He's kind of missing the DFS space a little bit, and I talked him into it, so I'm very, very excited. We're going to cover the Daytona 500. Some of it's just going to be random talking. We'll talk about Kyle Busch being on the pole, some other things, but we'll hopefully give you some DFS content information to prepare for the big race. Obviously, there's $500,000 up top, which is what we're all going to be chasing. Jason, it's been at least a year and a half, year and change since we've done a podcast. How you doing?
Yeah, first off, like this asshole right here, you have been begging me for 2 years probably since our last one to do a show. So finally, Daytona 500, I finally agreed to do a show with your ass. And the first thing you hammer me on is my balding head is call me out. Like that's the thanks I get for taking this time out of my busy life now. My busy work day. I mean, you can see how much busier my life has become, how stressful my life is now. Barely any time for DFS. And here's the thanks I get. Hopefully, the people out there listening are a little bit more appreciative than that introduction.
Sorry. You really look like you'd make a great sitcom dad. That's where you're at. You kind of look like the guy off of that 70s show a little bit.
Whoa. Isn't that the rapist? No, okay, the
old man, not the rapist.
Okay,
God Almighty. I don't think. Well, I can't monetize this now that we said rape.
Well, this isn't live. We can edit that out.
But yeah, I've asked Jason a few times last year. I just miss having the conversation, just the regular, doesn't matter banter. Just kind of going back and forth. So thank you, Jason, for indulging me at least one more time. Where have you been? What have you been doing? You played DFS. You had a really good DFS year last year, right? Like last time I checked in, it was good.
I did, yeah, man. Had a couple takedowns last year. Some big scores. Got a tax form at the end of the year, so that always makes it feel nice when you've gotten a tax form. That's 2 years in a row. So ever since I quit putting out content, yeah, I feel like I'm getting tax forms, getting a profit, and just having more fun with it. You get to make plays without feeling like somebody's watching over you, right? And being like, if you make a stupid play, nobody gives a shit, right? So
yeah,
it's fun.
That's the best part. So you don't have to stress over it anymore. It's like, if I don't want to play today, I'm not playing. You could just take a slate off, and then you can really hone in on the ones you feel good about, right? Like you can, and this is something I think a lot of people should sometimes do. If you don't feel good about a slate, don't bet your money on it, right? Like kind of play safe. But it was early last year, and I just kept looking at the leaderboards. I'm like, what the hell is Jason doing? Like, how is he? Where did this come from? So I was very happy for you. Congrats on the tax form. That's always a sign of success, right? So
yeah.
What else has been going on? Just
man, fishing,
corporate life.
Yeah, corporate life, man. Working my way up that corporate ladder, imprisoning myself in this corporate tomb, right around me, right, not escaping it like you are. Fishing, been doing a lot of ice fishing here. We got some nice, 18 inches of ice out on all the lakes, so that's been a lot of fun getting out there with that. But yeah, man, you see, you hit the nail on the head with sitcom dad, right? Living dad life, being there with the kids and making memories, and it's just living the low stress life of retired NASCAR DFS
ish. Perfect. Well, thank you again for joining us. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the Daytona 500. Obviously, everyone's favorite race because of the predictability.
Is it still everyone's favorite race? I feel like everybody's bitching about the Daytona 500.
I hate this race.
Like I don't understand why everybody's hating the Daytona 500. Like, this is the start of NASCAR. This is the crown.
That's the only redeeming quality, is that it's the start.
The Super Bowl. Like, but when you're watching this thing, like the intensity and like, do you not still feel the like, as the laps are ticking down, like, oh shit, like edge of your seat, like, oh my God, like who is it? Like, you don't get that about any other race in this year. Like,
I agree. Yes. There's with 20 to go, there's still a ramping up period. Can I do without the previous 2.5 hours of the race, probably. And I think
been like that though.
Yeah,
hasn't it
no,
always
it's true.
been like
It's
that?
true.
Like how many? I've been watching NASCAR for years. How many times have we watched them just single file train around the top and they just freaking ride?
I think it's more of an indictment on, for me, it's times have changed. Like I just no longer have the patience to sit there and not be frustrated by it. But also back then, cars would blow up, things would happen, guys would blow the tire, right? Like there would be events in the middle of the race that would happen. Now there could be a wreck.
Broadcast, I feel like. I think that's like back then you had a broadcast that could stand that. Like I cannot imagine like a single file train at Daytona with Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick trying to fill 2 hours. Like they found storylines back then. They made it exciting, right? Like it wasn't stuff happening on track, but they found the stories in the pits. There was actually tire wear back then, at some points, right? But I can remember we were all sitting there holding our breath, hoping for a caution. The field would get strung out. Green flag pit stops would happen. Single file trains. You got like 6 guys out front. Like nothing happens, and like we're just begging for a little bit of something to happen to bunch them back up so we can see a great finish, right? Like we get that every time now. We get a great finish. I mean, we get excitement. We get 2, and I'd much rather see them ride, save gas, 3 wide, and be somewhat at least entertaining than like what we used to see. Like we got it good. Like
I think I want the Daytona 200. I guess that's my only thing.
Yeah, then make it the Daytona 200, right?
I would like it to be short, but you're right. I mean, it's not overtly bad. I do not want to listen to Mike Joy and that crew for the next 3.5 hours. Like they were awful last night. They were so bad. Mike Joy is senile and has no idea. Like it's a rough broadcast, but you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it and the guys are crashing and we're seeing who's the last man standing, who's holding trophy, it is going to be important right up until the moment it's, Cody Ware or something.
Yeah.
But so we got our starting lineup set. We got some DFS content we're going to be able to get to. Kyle Busch on the pole, though. I know Kyle Busch still pulls the heartstrings of some people, fans. What do you think of Busch being on the pole? Are you excited for it? Does it matter? Where are you at with that?
Kyle, it's been a while, Busch, right? Like, I mean, I think it's a fun storyline. I would love to see him win. I think a lot of fans obviously would like to see him win. Yeah, obviously, DFS standpoint, we can't touch the guy, right? I don't think we can play him. But is this his first pole ever at the Daytona 500?
Ryan Blaney was optimal from the pole in the last race here.
Does that mean you want to chase that this year?
No,
though.
No.
Like,
No.
Like, I mean,
honestly, I'm not sure. I've never thought about that. Kyle Busch, Daytona, it probably is. I feel like that would have been a big talking point if it was. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, it looks like his
first pole. Yeah, so first pole. That's exciting for his long career. First, so RCR's got strong cars, right? They know, this is where they show up. I mean, he can definitely. I mean, it's a lap leader potential. Definitely there, but I just, I'm not a guy that chases those kind of plays.
No, absolutely not. So he hasn't won a Daytona 500. Obviously, a lot of the elite drivers, all-time greats, have failed to win here. Mark Martin, Tony Stewart, like a lot of top-tier guys with 60 wins, 50 wins have not won the Daytona 500. Dale Earnhardt barely got his, right? It took him 20 years. Do you put a lot of stock in that? Like, are you like, dang, I'm rooting for Kyle Busch because I want him to win? Or does that not really matter? And this is part of the me not liking Daytona is like, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can be Michael McDowell and win. You can be it's kind of just a bit of a random crapshoot. But do you root for guys like Kyle Busch? Do you want him to win? Who are you cheering on, I guess, given the circumstance? But he's only got a couple years left, right? Hamlin's got 2 years left. But he's got 3 wins. But what I'm saying, these drivers are starting to time out in their careers, and they don't have the trophies to show for it necessarily.
Well, he's got a lot of trophies, but yeah, it's a big trophy, right? The Daytona 500.
Big trophy.
You clearly definitely would love to see Kyle Busch put his name on that trophy, and obviously Brad Keselowski's another one who, like you mentioned, who hasn't won it yet. Who I think would be great to see him win. Chase Elliott is another big name out there who would his career would be less if he does not win a Daytona 500, right? In that lineage of Elliott, right? So yeah, I think there is part you want to see these guys cross it off the list. The guys who have been in the sport and have had a lot of success and have been champions, like Kyle Larson. Like it would be great. Like you want to see these guys who are winning championships in highlighted with your sport at the Super Bowl, right? How great would that be for the sport to see Chase Elliott doing the interviews, right? See, as opposed to Harris Burton, guy that nobody knows about, right? Like which oftentimes, which I can see, you know, is why like where we've come to with this race being kind of like a crapshoot, why it kind of pulls away. But I still think there is something to say about those guys that when you look back, like a Denny Hamlin who got it done multiple times, 3 times. You got a guy like William Byron now going for his 3rd straight. Like that shit's still impressive, right? Mm-hmm. When you look back and you to look on the career. So not even just getting one, like you can say like, yeah, some randomness to be getting one, but I still think you can put a lot of stock in those guys who can continue to get it done and would be great on a Hall of Fame application or ballot or whatever they do.
So who do you like? I mean, I assume you watched the dual races last night and are well up to snuff on what's going on. Who do you like? What cars? What teams? Who do you see as the kind of guys to watch heading into this race? Because I think there's a couple of teams that look really strong and might have an advantage on the field. But it also looks like, based off everything we've seen, is pushing is not going to be okay. It seems like no matter the manufacturer or anything, the cars are just all over the place. Could mean more carnage. But who do you like? Who's standing out for you right now?
I mean, it's clear to the duels. It's hard to say like if what we're seeing is just indicative of what Duel 1 set up. It had a lot of Fords in it, right? So they clearly dominated Duel 1 and looked very strong Duel 1. And they're the players we would expect, right? Your Penske's, right? Your RFK guys. Those are really the teams. I think when we think of a super speedway race and think of it playing it out with no carnage and just the best drivers and the fastest cars getting to the front, I feel like it's always Penske, Ford, RFK, those teams. And I think that's the same case this year. Like, I think if this is just a straight out as who's the best drivers and who's the best cars, I think the winner is going to come from Penske, a Penske affiliate, a RFK, something like that. Am I wrong?
Yeah, for sure. So we've seen double-digit DNFs in the last 10 races here. That's expected. We're going to get high carnage. We talked about not playing Kyle Busch, but he starts on the pole. There's only been 2 instances in the last 8 races of a driver starting top 5 and being optimal. Both of them Penske drivers, to that point where it's like, if we're looking for the best cars and who's going to be fastest, it's going to be Penske, potentially RFK. RFK looks really, really strong. I thought Preece, not just in the duel, but he qualified 3rd. The car is fast. Obviously, if he does get linked up with Keselowski, like they're going to be tough to beat. Buescher's won a race here with Brad pushing them. So we know the RFK cars have the ability to go out there and crush. Top 10 starters, only 4 instances in the last 8 races of top 10 starters being optimal. So 8% of our optimal drivers over the last 8 races, 4 years have been optimal. The top 10 guys are not where you want to target. But then you look at the top 10, Logano, Blaney, Elliott, Keselowski. It's like, do I kind of want to consider that? Obviously, it's a low percentage, but the guys that started top 10 and were optimal were Blaney twice, Cindric, Penske guys in top tier equipment. Can we lean into these guys still a little bit, like Logano and Keselowski, or are you just like, nope, wash my hands up?
I'm still not, because what you said, we're expecting chaos, right? I have a feeling it's going to be one of those races where you're going to watch most of the race and be very frustrated because you're not playing these guys. Those are the guys who have the strongest cars. They're mixing it up at front, right? They're doing all the stuff. And you're like, shit, what am I doing? Why am I sitting here staring at Cody Ware and BJ McLeod in my lineups, right? Like, how stupid am I? Like, these are the strongest guys. But push comes to shove, like you said, noses don't line up. Where we know some teammate's going to wreck another teammate, which we can talk about who we think that might be, later in this show. But eventually, you're going to see chaos. You're going to have somebody turn sideways. It's going to be wrecks, and then it's just going to be wreck after wreck after wreck, and then it's just going to be whoever makes it through the end. And that's why, like I've always said about these races, and it's like everybody, wants to get cute, and you can't stack the pack because they pull up, optimal this, optimal that. Like, yeah, sure. And I'm sure you can find instances, but if you're playing the odds are it's going to be a wreck fest. And like, you should just play these and build as if it's going to be a wreck fest every time. Sometimes you're going to be wrong. It's going to be clean. That wreck at the end didn't happen. You're sitting there seeing William Byron win a 3rd race or something, 3rd 500 in a row. And like, shit, did I just watch all this to see a single file finish and William Byron, somebody spinning in front of him and him getting lucking into another one? Something stupid, right, that leave you pissed off. But you're playing the odds, and the odds are like, that's the path. That's the path of least resistance. And even if it's clean, you still got to pick the right guys, right?
Right. So, and to piggyback on that, only 14 of those last 8 races, only 14 instances of a top 10 starter were in the top 10 DFS scores. So you only have like a 17.5% likelihood that a top 10 starter is going to score in the top 10 on the slate. and then you have the 40% likelihood that they score negative points, right? That they crash out, that they kill a lineup. If you got a guy that's scoring negative 15, negative 20 points in your lineup, that lineup is dead. Like it is murdered, right? So you have to factor that in. Long-term profit, you probably want to avoid top 10 starters. If you play 300 lineups, like if you max out all the big contests, yeah, okay, you sprinkle those guys in for fun. But if you play 20 lineups, 10 lineups, you're going to want to stay away from that group. Play smart, get yourself some profit. And then if it does break your way, great. Then you've won a few $1,000s. But chasing a takedown here can lose you money. So only do that if you're comfortable.
And just if you want some action on those guys, like bet them, bet them to win, right? They can still win, right? And it still wouldn't kill your DFS lineup if one of them wins. They're not going to go crazy on scoring, right? So like bet them to win. Like if you want some action on those guys, like that's where you get good odds.
While we're on, I feel like we transitioned well to the DFS aspect. Let's talk about the chalk, because there are some very obvious super chalk plays for this slate. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if we need to be super negative or super positive, but there's some big names starting at the very back. Chris Buescher, 41st, William Byron, 39th, Ross Chastain, 37th, and then Austin Cindric, 36th. And Austin Cindric may be the best super speedway racer right now, which feels crazy to say because he sucks everywhere else. But if you look at Daytona, Talladega, he is the man. We just got to lay into these guys, right? Like, how do you distribute your ownership? How do you attack these plays knowing that 45-50% ownership is coming in on some of those big names coming from the very back? How do you leverage it? How do you leverage it knowing that 2 or 3 of them have a good chance of wrecking out? Like, how do you attack this whole scenario that we have with multiple Uber chalk plays?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, right? Those guys, Byron, Buescher, Chastain, Cindric. There's going to be Uber chalk because not only are they the guys starting in the back, they're guys everybody recognizes. They're also the pricing is really soft this week, so like you can fit those 4 guys in and still have $7,300 per driver left, right? So how many lineups do you think are going to start with all 4 of those guys this week, right? Multiple. Like there's going to be so many lineups that are going to start with those 4 guys right there. So I think just realizing that and keeping yourself from limiting from playing all of them in every lineup, right? You got to differentiate some of those guys out. You can't avoid them. They're good plays. Some of them are going to smash. Some combination of those guys are going to smash. I doubt all 4 are going to wreck. You should probably build a lineup just in case that all 4 of them wreck. But you got to avoid doing what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is going to hit those 4 guys in, and they're going to be left at 7,200. Where's that going to land them, right? Look at who that lands you at, right? That's going to land you at those guys that are like Reddick, Zilich, Jones, Allgaier, Dinger. Those guys are going to soak up the rest of the ownership. So if you want to get differentiate those lineups, like I really like this week, the guys below 6,000. I think with how soft the pricing is, how easy it is to fit those guys, very few people are dipping down below that 6K, and especially down below 5K. I think you're going to find a lot of guys that similar upside to those Byron, Buescher, Chastain. If chaos happens, that's going to be 8, 9, 10% owned, like, a fifth of the ownership, So don't play those guys alongside those guys. Leave the salary on the table and sprinkle in those guys in place of those top plays, right? That's how I differentiate.
Sure. So I want to talk about one of those guys that's going to be low owned, that's very, very cheap, that's going to maybe get overlooked, and he's going to be one of my favorite plays of this slate. His name's Cody Ware. So Cody Ware has done very well for me making this claim over the last couple of years, but Cody Ware at Daytona has been pretty damn successful. He was 25th last year in the Daytona 500. It was actually one of the lower variance races, but he also crashed out on the last lap. So he didn't actually finish the race. He was 20th last summer, so 35th to 20th. That's a strong score. Before that, 2024, he finished 4th in the summer race and 14th in the 500. The year before that, 6th in the summer race, 17th in the 500. This is a great example of, and Jason, you haven't said it yet. You haven't said your catchphrase. Stacking the back works a lot, but understanding how to stack the back is key. We talked about the chalk. Well, those chalk drivers are going to the front. They're going to go race in the hornet's nest. They're going to go for the win. They're going to go for stage point. They're going to work their way forward. Cody Ware ain't doing that. Cody Ware's hiding out in the back. He's making sure he gets to lap 200. And when all the other guys wreck, he shows up and he's like, oh, look, I'm 15th. Fantastic. And that's why he had that straight. I mean, really, he has, 5 top 20 finishes out of the last 6 races? That's pretty damn strong. And you have multiple top 10s. When you stack the back, when you consider stacking the back, it's drivers like this, it's drivers like BJ McLeod who are just going to ride. You're playing them for their floor, and then if you get a high variance, high carnage race, then their ceiling becomes a optimal level ceiling, right? So I'm very much in the Cody Ware as an example. He was like 9% owned last year or something like that. He's going to be pretty low owned this year, and he has optimal upside. Now, does that mean he will be optimal? No, he may be the 7th or 8th highest score or 9th highest score or whatever. When it comes to cash, you want that type of play in there. You want that floor. But then you also want the upside that he offers if we do get 20 DNFs, which we have seen here at Daytona. So to that point, when you're trying to find lower ownership guys, Cody Ware stands out very, very much because the floor is exceptional with him. Most of the time, he is getting you 30, 35 points, and then he could get 40, 45, 50 points. And that's going to stand out as just being different than what you normally see. And then a lot of guys in that like 28, 29, 30 range, some of the guys that don't carry big names, like Zane Smith, he starts 30th. If he gets the 13th, that's a big score. No one's going to play him because he's 30th and you have all the big names around him, right? Those are the type of plays.
I did look at a stat. Front Row Motorsports has 12 top 10s in the last 10 super speedway races. So
yeah, absolutely. And Front Row has been one of those teams because it's a lower funded team, right? They don't have the money. They don't push as much early in the races. They like to save their equipment from being destroyed. And this is what, Corey LaJoie did for years with Spire, those first 3 years with Spire when they didn't have but one car and they weren't putting that much funding in. They would just ride in the back and let everyone wreck. And all of a sudden, Corey LaJoie's 10th. They're like, Corey LaJoie is amazing at Daytona. Well, yeah, he didn't wreck, and that's all it takes. So, I really like guys that are going to come in lower owned, like a Zane Smith, who I believe will be pretty low owned overall. If you look at last year, like Josh Berry in the 21 car, which is a Penske car, was 16% owned.
Yeah.
He started 29th. It's that, like, even that felt like it had some name value. Cole Custer started 30th, 12% owned. Ricky Stenhouse was 31st, 22% owned. So nearly double the ownership for Stenhouse of Custer, and they're the exact same play. Stenhouse has the win equity that we've seen in the past, but they're the same play. There's no difference. Noah Gragson was 32nd, 22% owned. You go up to SVG in 26th, 6.7% owned. Like, what's the difference? But just a handful of positions. Right. Ryan Preece started 27th, 16% owned. So once you get into this range and the Corey Himes and the Riley Herbst and these lesser-known drivers or lesser-named drivers, you're going to get 16, 15, 14, sometimes 9% ownership. Mm-hmm. And their upside's still a top 10 finish. All they have to do is avoid the carnage. They have good car. Everyone has a good car now. It's not much difference in terms of cup quality between first and 30th at a super speedway. So get coverage on those guys. Go overweight on some of those guys. Why play into 45% Chastain when you can get 15% Zane Smith? So just think about these things. Find your ways to be different. Because if Ross does wreck, and we saw that with William Byron last night in the duel, William Byron was mega chalk. He's like 50% owned. He crashes out. Half the lineups are dead. Then what, right? I think between Byron and Wallace, it was like some 80% of lineups had those two drivers. And when that happens in this race with those 4 or 5 huge shock plays at the back, all of a sudden you've opened yourself up to a huge takedown because you've gotten off some of those shock plays to get a Zane Smith who all of a sudden's 12th or 10th or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I really like being different on the back end. And the floor for Zane Smith starting 30th is, okay, he could be the first guy to crash out and finish 41st. But in all actuality, his floor is probably like 8 or 10 points. It's not negative 10, negative 20 like some other guys starting further ahead. So you're trying to manipulate all of the numbers and all the situations and crash rates and all these things, but the ownership numbers that you can get on some of these guys that still start towards the back is still good, and you should take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head right there. Is like where these guys became the most valuable is when those chalk guys wreck out, right, in those big carnage wrecks that are going to happen, and now these low-owned guys get to, pass them and score all these extra points. Those chalk guys come down. So, like, the only way this works is if you are, taking some, stands and on your cross lineups, you're taking out those guys and putting in some of these cheaper guys and leaving, you're going to leave lineups with $15,000, $16,000 on the table, but those are your lineups that's going to have that most leverage, right? The most different. That's fast. It's going to
Yeah.
give you a leapfrog when that chaos happens over a lot.
And I want to give a stat real quick over the last 2 years, from 24th to 29th. So no one with a 3 next to their name, and this is something I truly believe in. No one with a 3 next to their name. Since spring of 2024, so the last 4 races, we have 3 optimal drivers from the spring 2024, which is Daytona 500. We had 3 from the summer race that year. We also had a driver starting 20th in Harrison Burton, so I guess 4 technically. But from 24th to 29th is the range I'm really looking. So 3 in those 2 races in 2024. Only 1 Daytona 500 last year, but that was Michael McDowell starting 25th at 13% ownership. Could have been a huge difference maker. And then the summer race last year had 3 guys, Busher from 24th, Eric Jones from 26th, Cole Custer from 29th, that were optimal, and then Chase Elliott from 30th. The range of optimal plays is here. It's 24th. I mean, there's what I give you 10 instances over the last 4 races from 24th to 29th that they're optimal plays, not like good scoring plays, optimal. And they're coming in at lower ownership. They're not necessarily always the biggest name values. One of those was Parker Retzloff and Ty Gibbs. Like you're not always headhunting the big names. It's like, okay, guys in this range at a fraction of ownership, they're delivering at a very, very high rate, and you can get them at a fraction of ownership. Like it's the best area to attack for me. It's where I want to be at when I'm trying to be different, when I'm also trying to hit on optimal drivers. When you're looking at the guys that are scoring 45, 50, 60 points, it's from this range. It just is. Now, last year, there's a lot more DNFs in this range. There's a lot more guys that kind of crashed out that underperformed. Like Josh Berry, I think, crashed out. He was the first guy to crash out type thing. But overall, when you look at the scores, Custer, 30 points. Cody Ware had a rough night, but McDowell put up 52. Riley Hurst from 24th put up 35. So like in their floor performances or mediocre performances, you're getting 35, 30 points, and then their upside's 52 points, 55 points, and a takedown. So big fan of that range. Obviously, the chalk is the chalk, and we've seen Chase Elliott from the back and Alex Bowman from the back and the big names from the back and the big teams deliver. But we've also seen them crash out and destroy lineups. So
yeah, that wreck out, crash out, that can happen, whatever range you're looking at can fall victim to that. But I think the most important thing about this range, similar like how we were talking about with the guys less than 6,000, right, is this range is going to be, a lot lower owned. So let's go through, since you called out, I think, 24th through 29th. So let's rank those guys for me for this 500, right? We have Jones starting 24th, Gragson starting 25th, Reddick starting 26th, Wallace starting 27th, Herbst starting 28th, and Heim starting 29.
Well, this is the weird part about this particular one is it's all the 2311 cars. All 4 of them are in that group. If they can just train up there together, that'd be great. Bubba Wallace stands out as the best, but he's also going to carry the most ownership. I think Tyler Reddick's obviously going to carry some name value as well. So they'll have the most ownership. I don't know if that's good or bad. They both have very good performances here in the past. They both had the ability to score well. I think Tyler Reddick ended up like with the top 5 or 10 finish here last year.
Reddick will be higher than Wallace this week.
Yeah, so I think those 2 will carry ownership. Now, Eric Jones is fantastic at Daytona. And I kind of want to rank him the highest of the group. I think conventionally speaking, getting 3 more PD points out of Bubba Wallace makes some sense. But Eric Jones has multiple optimal performances at Daytona. He's very, very good decision maker, very, very good driver in general. He's cheap, very low. I don't know what I have him projected for because I don't have that screen up, but he's not going to see probably more than 15% ownership. And he could finish top 5, no doubt. I mean, he's just done that so many times here at Daytona. He finished 5th in the last race here at Daytona from 26 starting position. So I feel like that's a really, really good play. I do think, Zane Smith's 30th. I want to throw him into this group because I think he doesn't carry the name value, right? I think that's someone that's going to go over. I really like Zane Smith as well. And then from there, it's really just which 2311 driver doesn't crash. I think you have to rate Wallace ahead, but I don't think Reddick is necessarily significantly better than Herbst, or I don't think Heim is necessarily significantly better than Herbst. I think where you would like Heim is that he's probably a better decision maker. He's a smarter human being than Riley Herbst, right? So he may put his car in a better position more often than not. I think I would probably go Jones, Smith, Heim, then I'd probably go Wallace, Herbst, Reddick, just because I think Reddick carries more ownership than those other guys. And I'm trying to play the ownership versus the potential upside versus the driver behind the wheel making a smart decision, those type of things. And that's where it's tricky. It's not just like, oh, that's an obvious play. It's like, well, you want to take the totality of everything. So I do think Jones is just a sneakier, better play. And honestly, out of the group, aside from Wallace, no one has better performances here at Daytona than Jones. I mean, Jones has just got the upside that we're looking for, and he's done it often enough where you're like, okay, yeah, he can do that yet again and be an optimal play.
Yeah, and I think that's just what makes Daytona and other super speedways for DFS so much fun, is because like you actually get an opportunity to play guys who are 8% owned who can actually like really make a difference and play multiple. You get to have fun, and like you can build all kinds of crazy fun lineups that have a legit shot at winning, and you can just get creative and fun and not feel like you're painted in a box, right, of guys you have to play. So it's fun. But also what else is fun is I'm sitting here looking at, this isn't DFS related, but just as we're, looking at the starting lineup here, guys started 24th through 30th and we kind of stopped. But this next row here I think this is something we might look back on in 20 years and realize how special this is we have Jimmy Johnson and Connor Zilisch starting on the same row, and Connor Zilich's first Daytona 500, and this could very well be Jimmy Johnson's last Daytona 500 now. I think 20 years from now, like Connor Zilich is that guy. I feel like that could be a guy we're looking at in 20 years going into the Hall of Fame and maybe have a great, who knows what happens, but everything is lining up with Connor Zilich is the next guy, right? Multiple championships, potentially, like a great talent, right? That's a fun storyline for this 500 to see Johnson and Zilich lining up next to each other and to look back, when we're 60-year-old men and be like, I remember when, it'll be a question on like NASCAR Jeopardy or something.
You'll get there quicker than I will on that, but sorry, you're not that much older than me. The scenario that you are giving us here is very, very similar to Jeff Gordon and Richard Petty. I mean, they both ran that 1992 Atlanta race, where it was Petty's last race and Gordon's first race. And that type of dynamic is definitely here. I think Jimmy's running a few more, like he's going to run the San Diego road course race, and he's going to run a couple more. But you're right. I mean, this is Zilich's Cup Series debut minus a race or two, but it's his 500. It's his coming out party, right? This is him. I'm an official Cup driver. And this is Johnson's kind of potentially last Daytona 500. And so there is kind of that dynamic of, I don't want to say changing of the guard because Johnson's moved on, but you're seeing one of the greats and potentially the next great all at the same time and bridging that gap. And a lot of guys are talking about, or one stat that gets thrown around yearly is, this is the last guy that raced with Dale Earnhardt. This is the last guy that was alive when Dale Earnhardt, or whatever, they keep throwing out these stats. Frankie Muniz is the last NASCAR driver that was there when, that nonsense. But this is one of those things where you kind of bridge back a couple generations. You're like, Zilich raced with Johnson. Johnson raced with Earnhardt. Earnhardt raced with Lee Petty, or however that expands. And you're like, wow, we're only 3 drivers removed from the very beginning of NASCAR. I know there's I listened to a football podcast, and I forget who it is, but there's a couple of people that they talk about how they were alive in 1980, and their grandfather or their great grandfather was like signing the Declaration of Independence. Like their whole family lived to be 80. They all had kids at like 70 because they're still going to town. And so like there's only like 3 generations away from 220 years ago. And that's kind of how this feels, where it's like Jimmy Johnson, 7-time champion. This could be a next multiple-time champion. And then Zilich 20 years from now will be racing with the next guy. So there is kind of that fun dynamic. I think bad plays, if I want to say it. But Jimmy Johnson was all
bad plays. Right? You don't think do you think Zilich has a chance of winning? You can't pull an Austin Cindric?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't.
Is it just because the team he doesn't have the Penske backing? You think?
I think there's an element of the level of speed in the car. Definitely. I mean, Trackhouse is probably one of the bottom 2 or 3 of the well-funded teams. Right. Like obviously front rows behind them and some of those teams, but and they're a Ford, so they actually probably have more speed. But Trackhouse has struggled on super speedways. Like if you look, Ross Chastain has not been very, very good. Atlanta with Suarez was good, but in totality, like they're always starting towards the back. They're always kind of struggling. They're not the same as a Hendrick, as a Penske, right? So they're battling mid-pack. They have to overcome more. They have to gain that track position, which right now track position.
He's gotta get lucky.
Yeah, they have to get more lucky. And then it's a rookie. At the end of the day, it's still a rookie, and it's a rookie with 1.5 years of oval racing experience. Like this is what gets really overlooked sometimes with Zilich is he has no experience. Like he has 1 year.
Right.
And that's what makes what he did so impressive because you got guys like Corey Day who now have 1 year of experience and he wrecks half the time and he runs 15th, whereas Zilich won 10 races in the experience. Right. So like you can tell the talent's there, you can tell the brain's there. And that's really he's a smart driver, but it's hard, man. You saw him in his first race at Coda last year. He got involved in a wreck early on. Just circumstances sometimes go against you. You don't have all the experience to know exactly where to put yourself, how to react to wrecks, how to do those things. And he's probably seen like 2 or 3 Daytona wrecks. The Xfinity field doesn't wreck where he was as often. He won one of the races. So he probably has only crash avoided once or twice at a super speedway. Just experience isn't on his side. Track position is not on his side. And Jimmy Johnson's wrecked in all but one next gen race I think he's been in. So I'm going to play the odds and assume he wrecks again. Yeah. Literally the Daytona 500 last year is like the only race in this car he has not wrecked. So yeah.
I mean, if there's somebody in the field, if there's anybody in the field though who needs to just hang the fuck back and not race and just ride, it's Jimmy Johnson. Like, what are you doing? Like, just sit back and ride.
That's like, all of them. That's like half the field, man.
I know, but like, if anybody, like Jimmy Johnson, you would think would be like, I'm just gonna go out there and ride, right? Like, but I guess you're a racer, right? You want to, I want to go fast,
and that's kind of thing. I don't remember exactly what his game plan was last year. It probably was to ride in the back, but I feel like he does this because he wants to just go out there and have fun. Like he doesn't really do this, and so I think part of it's like I want to go mix it up. Well, mixing it up and it crashed. But you did see that, towards the old generation with like Dale Jarrett and Bobby Labonte and those guys, they did hide in the back. Those are the ones that would go hang out in the back. They're like, you know what, this is pointless. I'm not doing all this. We got 200 laps. The more experienced drivers tend to do that a little bit more, it seemed like. And so
Denny does it now, right?
Denny, something like he's like, okay, it's not there. It's not there. I'm gonna save fuel. Everything's a fuel saving dynamic now, and that's where honestly the predictability of these races have gotten harder because of the fuel saving dynamic, right? You don't know who's spending too much fuel and then gonna have a slow stop and then ruin their final stage versus guys that are really saving, but then gonna have that 3-second pit stop and be able to kind of shift track position. And then the way they're doing that is eliminating the opportunity for crashes. That gives us those green flag cycle pit stops that spreads out the field, and then they kind of come back together. It creates a weird dynamic where it shifts the field a lot in terms of the running order. But then once they get full throttle, once they're going at it, it's 2v2. You can't. There's no third lane, and you kind of get stuck with whatever happens. And so that does shake it up. And if any of these guys, Zilich just rides in the back all day and shows up late, he can do well. I know Hocevar did that a lot last year where he rode in the back. I think he had a transmission. He had some sort of mechanical issue last year, though, that hurt him. But we see that out of a few drivers. John Hunter Nemechek's done that, and they'll be the ones that collect fast laps. Like you'll go look, AJ Allmendinger, Hocevar, John Hunter Nemechek, they've typically ran at the back, and you look up and you're like, damn, they have 12 fast laps. How do they have that at Daytona? It's because they just take that draft, get a fast lap, and they're hanging out, right? So there will be a handful of drivers that do that. There will be some guys that play it safer. It's hard to know who, but those are sometimes the ones that show up late. AJ Allmendinger's been optimal here a couple times. The last 2 Daytona 500s, no, 23 and 24, he was optimal in the Daytona 500. So those are the type of guys that show up because they just stay safe.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, let's get into. I know you got to get back to work. You're doing this on your lunch break. So let's get to the end. Who are your core 4, Jason? One more core 4 for us.
Oh my God, do I have to? Core 4. All right, let me see here. Shit, I didn't know I was gonna be put on the spot.
This show had no planning, so everything I'm throwing at him, he's just like, oh crap.
Yeah, well, I gotta go Ross Chastain because that's my boy. Starting 37th. So yeah, definitely like me some Ross Chastain. And you know what, man? Like I freaking hate this guy so much when he wins the 500s. Like I hate everything about William Byron winning Daytona 500s. But like, I mean, he's always there, right? Do I want to put Byron in my core though? Because everybody's gonna play him. Yeah, whatever. Chastain, Byron, and then let's keep it.
You gotta go Buescher, right? Like you're gonna have so much ownership on them.
I mean, yeah, I could do the Buescher too, but
I know you want to be different. I know you're looking to find that spot to be different. Give us one very unique core 4 player, so someone that you're going to be overweight on that you're just going to take a stand and risk it with.
Somebody I'm gonna take.
Mine's Cody Ware.
Yeah, you like. I mean, I normally have way more BJ McLeod than everybody else, but that seems stupid. I mean, Ty Dillon. I mean, he's gonna be up there mixing it up as well. But I guess a core guy. You know,
Ty Dillon's interesting. Ty Dillon's interesting. 11th, 14th, and 22nd his last 3 Daytona races. So you got 2 top 15 finishes there.
And he knows how to drive up there too.
He likes to hide out. I feel like he hides out more than most. I feel like that's a safe play, and that's someone that's going to be very low owned. Like that's
let's go Ty Dillon, Byron Chastain, and the guy we ain't talked about yet, who will probably get some ownership, is Justin Allgaier. I think he's probably going to ride a little bit too. As long as he doesn't wreck, he should top 20 this thing, right? So that'd be a little different. Allgaier, Byron Chastain, Dillon for my wing it. No thought, core 4. Don't put your mortgage on it.
Well, I think that was a good example. Is like Allgaier is 40th, right? He's right in there between Byron and Buescher and those guys, and he's probably going to see 10-15% less ownership than Byron and Buescher. So if you're trying to get off of the most owned plays, but also get someone that's got similar upside, I mean, Allgaier was a top 10 finisher here last year, right? Like it's literally just avoid the chaos. So very, very good play.
And Fords like to wreck themselves, so I'm avoiding Buescher because he's probably going to, and Cindric because they're probably going to be more likely in the wreck because those guys like to get aggressive pushing and they don't like to give each other any inches. And Keselowski kind of gets a little aggressive. Logano does. All those guys going to be riding together. We haven't talked about who you think teammates might wreck each other, but I think it's probably going to come from the Ford camp if we see some teammates causing an accident. They're going to be around it. So that's my only methodology. So save those guys for at least my core.
Gotcha. That's fair. I mean, if it's going to be teammates, it feels like it's going to be the Fords, mainly because, Logano, Keselowski, most aggressive pushers. I mean, they are going to pound your bumper in. But also, when you look at the optimals, Buescher's on last summers, Blaney's on last summers, Blaney's on last, Daytona 500. Like those guys show up more often than not. They're winning the race more often than not. So you're kind of balancing that, like, if they get through, they're going to be great plays. If they don't, they're going to be bad plays. And so they are very much the epitome of high risk, high reward, type plays. But I have a very similar core 4. I mentioned Cody Ware, and I say that half jokingly, but I'm kind of serious because I know the floor I'm getting, I know the upside I'm getting, I know the ownership leverage I'm going to get on a play like that. So Cody Ware is someone I do like. I do invest a little bit in. More than most. But yeah, I think my core 4 is going to be pretty much down the line of Buescher and Byron and those guys starting at the back. You're just going to have too much ownership. For me, it's all about how much ownership am I going to have on guys. And regardless of if I go underweight or not, if I'm 38% Buescher, which is underweight, that's still probably a top 5 ownership number for me. So it's still a core pick. I do like pivoting to some of those other guys. Like Zane Smith stands out so well in that 30th position. Then we talked about 24th through 29th, and I didn't finish my thought process with that. But you know how when you go to a grocery store and everything's priced $4.99, it's really $5. You're paying $5, but they put that $4.99 to make you mentally think it's $4. Like that's a trick that's been going on for a century now. Yeah. And every time I take my son out, he looks at it and he's like, "Oh, that's $9. It's $10." And it doesn't matter. It's only an extra $1, and he's starting to pick up on that. He sees it like, "Oh no, those 99 cents actually count." It's the same thing with someone starting 29th versus 30th, right? Or 30th versus 33rd. There's so minimal of a difference, but it's how you mentally look at that play. And so I do like those guys that kind of start in the backside of the 20s. Race winner. I picked both race winners for the duels. I'm so proud of myself for that. I picked both Logano and Elliott, those two. So that was amazing. I'm hoping to go 3 for 3, but who do you have? Who are you picking to win the Daytona 500? Is it an upset or is it someone that we all expect?
Are we going to – let's do a favorite, right, to win it, and then a long shot. Can we do one of each, right?
That's fair. I mean, everyone else has 20 bets on this race, so why not?
Yeah, sure. I think I'm going to go Chase Elliott wins it. I think he gets it done. I think it's his time. His car looked really strong in the duels, right? I think Fords are going to wreck themselves out of it as strong as they're going to be. Chase has a tendency to avoid that stuff, right, and be conservative and be safe with his equipment. I think it's his turn. I think Chase Elliott gets it done as far as my favorite. As far as my long shot, here. Ride with me on this one, right? So like you always hear, I don't know if you hear Elon Musk and others say things like you could the most entertaining outcome is what you can expect in life. Like whatever could be the most entertaining is probably going to be what is going to happen, right? The most entertaining, at least that I could see in the environment of the world and where we are at right now, with all the ICE stuff going on and the Latin America stuff, right? And it's the 250th birthday of America, the great American race. Like, how funny and entertaining would it be to see Daniel Suarez win the great American race, right? And that would be the most entertaining outcome. So that would be my long shot of like, that's what would happen. Daniel Suarez.
That is not where I expected that to go. Sure. I mean, Suarez could. Yeah. All right. I'm moving on. I mean, obviously, Elliott, he's one of the guys I brought up when, the top 10 starters. It's like you got 4 elite drivers up here that have a chance to win. And Elliott's one of them. And it's like, well, is he DFS viable if he even wins? Right. Like I in my breakdown, I talked about how Ryan Blaney scored. I got it right in front of me. So I'll say it. 55.8 points in his pole to win in the summer race last year. Right. So he won the race and only scored 55.8 points. And most races, that's not optimal. Most optimals, you're seeing guys 58 to 60, 61, 62 points. That's what a lot of optimals look like at Daytona. Some races, 55.8 is enough. But for a driver starting third or first or second to be optimal, they have to be almost perfect. And so Elliott from fourth or third, I can't remember if he's fourth or third. It's very hard for that play to be optimal without a race win.
Right.
So just bet that. And even if he does win, if he doesn't lead enough, or if there's too many place difference plays, he's not optimal anyways, right? So
Right.
I do agree with that. And Suarez is good enough. I mean, Suarez was, obviously very good at Atlanta. He was actually good here last year. He finished 13th, which was a optimal play.
I mean, if you think Hocefor and McDowell has a dog in the fight at all, then you got to think Suarez has somewhat of a dog. He's got it done when restricted play.
I mean, Spire's got. I mean,
right?
HMS light team, right? Like they don't have.
Joy's almost won in the 7 car, right? At the restricted play race. So there's no reason to think Suarez can't get it done. Plus,
yeah, I think Suarez is a fine pick. I don't like him, and I don't want to pick him. So I'm going my obvious pick. I don't think I've swayed from this in 4 years at any super speedway, but I'm going Brad Keselowski. I refuse to go away from Brad. I thought the RFK cars looked the best to me, and yeah, a lot of it's fuel saving. But the moment the wick got turned up, and the moment they tried to make that second lane go, they couldn't pass him. Like it was like, oh, we're going now, and then the RFK cars just pulled back out. It felt like they were extremely strong compared to the field, especially paired up. Brad's obviously fantastic. I haven't seen this stat in 6 months, so sorry if I'm wrong. I believe Brad has 5 second place finishes in the next gen era on super speedways.
Wow.
So
great.
He hasn't got that win. He doesn't have that trophy. You're not sitting there like, oh yeah, Brad won again. But 5 second place finishes is a lot. I mean, that is a lot. It's very, Sheldon Creed of him, but it's showing that he's still battling for the wins. And then even when he's not, maybe he's getting involved in the wreck or whatever, but he is always going to be up front, always. So I do like Brad. I think he's the guy. An underdog kind of surprise win. That's going to be the tough part, is because I want to say Ryan Preece, but it just doesn't feel right. I think Ryan Preece has the best car. I think he has the fastest car in Daytona. And so I want to just say that, but that feels almost lazy to a degree. That feels like no way he wins the Clash and then is so good and all that.
So I'd count it. It's no Daniel Suarez, but I'd count it. But okay.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say Ryan Preece, I think, is going to be a big time contender. But if I'm going to be super different, super just outside the box and try to shake it up a little bit, to where we're not looking at the most obvious plays or guys in top tier equipment, because I think RFK is probably potentially the best cars. I am going to throw out Todd Gilliland. I think front row has done well here. I think Gilliland's got enough experience. I think he's a good decision maker. And it's random. Like, that's a random outcome. It's the same random outcome that Michael McDowell won the 500 with, right? But I think he has the potential, and he's smart enough to make it happen. I mean, John Hunter Nemechek was 5th last year. Jimmy Johnson was 3rd. it doesn't really matter how good you are. It's really just about showing up at the end. And in the summer, this is what the summer looked like. Eric Jones was 5th, Cole Custer was 4th, and Justin Haley was 3rd. It really doesn't fucking matter. You're just trying to get to the end. And I feel like if Todd Gilliland can do that, I feel like he's a guy that can challenge. I think he's a smart driver, and I like him. Maybe it's just a random nonsense pick, but I do think he's the type of guy that can show up, avoid the crashes, and potentially surprise.
I like it. I like it. I don't think it's that crazy. Front Row Motorsports, like you said, has been great. Okay, last one. Over under 19.5 cars in the big wreck.
Is that actually offered somewhere?
AI said it was. I didn't see which one it was, but
okay. Damn AI, it's going to take over the world. 19.5. So this is in one wreck, or is this across
one wreck, the big one?
I'll take the under on a singular wreck being that big. Although I feel like
Fox likes to add all them cars. If you got like touched another car, they're adding it to that list. They want it to seem like a big long list there. Fox. They want to show all them.
I feel like
most cars they got worked up with you. Oh my God, 27 cars.
Clint, is that you?
That's Clint.
I feel like most of the time when I look at the crashes, they're 13 or 14 cars. So I think 19 is high. Now DNF rate, I think 19.5 is right there on the number of total DNFs that we could see. The low end is about 14 to 15, and then the upside's 24-ish. So I think 19.5 is really where that line should be set on total DNFs. And this is where, to wrap it up, Cody Ware and BJ McLeod and those plays kind of show up in our conversation is, yeah, they suck. Yes, they're the slowest cars, but if 19.5 cars crash out and they're not in that group, they're guaranteed a top 20. Mm-hmm. Or, I guess it could be 20th, or 21st is the last spot. But like they're guaranteed a top 20 essentially, which is going to score 38, 40 points at a minimum. And if they crack the top 15, they're probably optimal. So Carnage is the name of the game. You definitely want to stack the back to a degree. I know stack the back is the monster.
All, not to a degree, all of it.
All of it. But there's still the instances where some guys starting in the teens, you never quite know where the optimals will come from. But it's a fun race. I know you're looking forward to it more than me, but I get really nervous. Obviously, this is my job. So I sit here, I think, can we win? Will we win? I need us to win. I need the screenshot. I need to profit myself. I have so many thoughts going on in my head, and I'm going to spend the next 3 days doing truck and Xfinity or O'Reilly and Cup content, and I'm going to be burnt out. So for me, this race is just like get it over with and hope I have a ton of subs. For the fan, it's probably going to be more enjoyable. But thank you, Jason. This was cool to get back on here, talk racing. Best of luck with your show, or not your show, your lineups. Jesus. Anything before you go and potentially disappear forever? Anything you want to get out? Anything you want to promote? Anything you're doing? Energy company, fishing?
I don't have anything I want to promote. Thanks for having me on. It was fun to sit here and chat Daytona 500 with you, as much as we joked in the beginning. It's cool to have these conversations. How about this? How about if you're right and Todd Gilliland wins the Daytona 500? I'll do more of these throughout the year. But if you're wrong, then I'll just disappear forever. So.
All right, fair enough. I feel like you're playing some good odds there.
Yeah, I know. Unless for some reason, like I get overwhelmed with people saying, "God, you got to do this show," but that's not gonna happen. So.
You hear that, folks? Retiring is not forever. I appreciate you, Jason, as always. It was good to get back to it. I've missed these conversations because it was the only time I got to really just kind of have fun. So this was great. I will obviously keep in touch, but if you guys aren't already familiar, he is it at Jason Hamlet _? Is that where you're at now on your?
I think, at Jason. It doesn't matter. At Jason.
I'll tweet it out. Follow him if you're wanting to follow him. If you're missing Jason and haven't been in touch in a while or whatever, make sure to follow him. He's going to post about hunting.
You'll find nothing entertaining on my timeline. So,
this was a great podcast. I think we covered everything really well. Hopefully, it helps people win. And if not, it's Jason's fault, not mine. We'll catch you next time.
Stack it.
See you guys.